Well, President Falwell on the Liberty University Newsmaker line. Always good to have you on the show.
Always honored to be with you, Todd. Thank you.
Hey, I really liked this column, and I think that you touched on something that we haven't talked much about in this country, and it's this idea of leaders who are not afraid to embrace the tough decisions.
Yeah, I called Governor Kemp. I've never met him before, but I called him the other night, and I just told him how much I appreciated his backbone and his leadership and being willing to stand against everybody and criticism from both sides. And I told him, I said, if everything goes well in Georgia, you're going to go down in history as a hero, as the first politician who had the guts to go against the status quo and reopen America. So I did whatever I could to encourage him. We had a nice long conversation, and he's a strong Christian man. I'm very impressed with him. He's a small businessman, and he was doing well in business before he became the governor. He didn't need that job, but he did it to serve his state, and we need more like him.
I don't know where we went off the tracks when it came to leadership in America, but when with the onslaught of all the polling data and the surveys, and a lot of people they lead by polls as opposed to their own gut instinct.
It's because they've never signed the front of a paycheck. They are professional politicians, and all they're interested in is the next title up the chain. And that's where we went wrong. And I don't know when that happened, but we got to get back to citizen legislators like our founding fathers said we needed to run this country, who come into government for a short time, lead, and like George Washington, go back to their businesses. And once we get to that point, I think we'll have a different country.
Jerry, a couple of days ago on the show, we had a lady call in. She owns her own hair salon, and she says, hey, look, she wants to be able to go back to work. She wants to open up her business. She's, that's the only source of income she has. And she said what she found to be most offensive is that the government doesn't seem to think that she has the common sense to make sure that her customers and her employees are protected.
Well, I was so encouraged this morning when I saw Attorney General Barr saying that he's considering action against states that go too far in limiting people's individual liberties in their effort to combat this virus. And also, I've noticed that the politics have gotten in the way of the science. I mean, it seems like if you're a liberal, it's the worst thing that's ever happened. There's going to be millions of deaths. And if you're a conservative, there was a video on YouTube. Tucker Carlson featured it last night, where some top experts in California proved with the data, scientific data, 4.7 million Californians had the COVID, and the number who had died equaled 0.03%, much less than the common flu. And that video was taken down. After I tweeted it, it was taken down by YouTube.
Yeah, Dan Erickson, Dr. Artin Masihi, and they are doctors at an urgent care. They run urgent cares in California. And
well, you know more about it than I do. I just saw parts of it, but I tweeted it. Then I went back and found it somewhere else and retweeted it, but they'll probably take that down too. But it makes you wonder if something fishy's going on, because the science can't be, it can't be all over the place like that. There's got to be some real data that's not biased, that's not driven by people who want to shut the country down. And I really think the blue state governors who have pushed for shutdowns, I think their states, like Mitch McConnell said, should be forced to go bankrupt. Their credit ratings should be lowered. I think they should pay the price at the polls, and I think that's the only way to break them from sucking eggs. My dad used to say liberal egg sucking dog is what he called them. But if you won't know what that means unless you're old enough to to remember that. But
a liberal egg-sucking dog.
dogs would figure out how to put a tooth in an egg, suck the insides out, and then leave it in the nest, and nobody would know it happened until the dog was long gone. But that's what liberals are like. They figured out how to suck the life out of our economy without getting blamed for it, and it's just something that they got to pay the price for. I really admire Mitch McConnell for saying they should file bankruptcy.
What are you guys doing at Liberty University to raise up those kinds of leaders that you wrote about in the town hall column?
Well, I've got another op-ed in Washington Times today, and it's talking about how the press has completely betrayed the American people, and you can't believe almost hardly anything they write anymore. And we're training our young people to, you have to look at all sides of every issue. You have to consider things that you don't really believe, and otherwise you never really understand why you do believe what you do. And we want complete free expression of ideas. We don't ridicule. Our professors don't ridicule the liberal kid. If a kid has a liberal idea and speaks up in class, they're treated with the same respect as the conservative kids, and that's just not the case at most universities. We've got a little bit more than a week left with some students living on campus, and so far we've had 0 cases, faculty on campus, 0 cases of COVID, faculty, staff, and students. And everybody attacked us. The New York Times, they said we were going to cause an epidemic, and what we've done is we've protected our students from the few cases that are in the local community, and I'm proud of that. And none of our folks have gotten it. The construction companies working on campus, a couple of those from out of town had it, but they're isolated from the rest of the campus by fences. So we're in good shape, and we did everything right, but yet we got chastised by the media.
Well, it's a great column, Jerry, and it's of course a great university. By the way, one of our weekend hosts, she's a school teacher at one of the Christian schools, First Assembly Church here in Memphis, and she's getting her doctorate online through Liberty University. That's
great. I hear that everywhere. Our enrollment for next year in the online program is up 10% over the same day last year, and so it's exploding. And it's it just seems like the more we take a stand for what we believe, the more people we attract. And that's just a lesson, I think, to all the ones that are moving the other way. They're losing membership.
Yeah.
And I admire our president. He's a little bit of a germaphobe, and so it's been hard for him to deal with this more than most people. But he's done a fantastic job, and he's done what he's had to do. But I think he really wants to see it all open up, and I think the governors are going to go ahead and make the move, and I really hope they do, because it's and the ones that don't, like I said, I hope they pay the price.
Jerry, we're going to have to leave it there. Always good to have you on the show.
No, Todd, always great to be with you. Anytime, you just let me know.
All right, Jerry Falwell Jr., ladies and gentlemen, president of Liberty University. And